I want to discuss what's going on right now and bring in retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis and Julia Ioffe, a veteran journalist on Russia. She knows what's going on, a founding partner, by the way, at Puck News. Colonel Davis, considering what we're hearing on the ground, what we're seeing, Kyiv, the capital, under siege right now, we're hearing lots of explosions going on in and around the city. How worried are you that the capital could fall?
Well, I mean, based on all the things that are being reported and the things that your correspondents are seeing on the ground there, I think the chances are much higher than I thought, maybe even 12, 24 hours ago, because the assumption was that the Ukrainians were going to fight a little bit tougher and have a slower go and maybe even set up some significant defenses within the city. But so far, it honestly doesn't look like that the Ukraine military as an organization has been able to even slow down the Russians. I mean, I heard some complaints earlier today say that the Russian advance was going slower, but as your correspondents have just pointed out, they are advancing on the capital from literally every direction. And wherever there's been a pitched battle, the Russians win. They put down the Ukrainians and they move completely forward. Now, I think that this kind of brings out a point that needs to be brought out that no one's talking about yet. If President Zelensky sees that the Russians are coming and that his forces can't stop it, the last thing he should be doing is putting his people in harm's way by telling them to go out and throw Molotov cocktails, handing them AK-47s they have no idea how to use properly. All he's going to do is end up getting people killed, and it's not going to change the outcome. I think right now he should really be pressing with what the New York Times is reporting, that he is willing to negotiate a declaration of neutrality with Russia in Israel. That's where he should go. That's what can save his people at this point, and that's probably all.
Well, what do you think, Julia? Because I don't think there's any indication at all, at least I haven't seen any indication that Putin and the Russians are ready to negotiate anything.
I think that's right, Wolf. And although I understand the concern about people getting killed and that it's might feel irresponsible to tell them to make Molotov cocktails and shoot AK-47s at Russian tanks, I think politically, Zelensky is in a very tough spot. You know, what is he going to do? Just negotiate and give up Ukraine's sovereignty or Ukraine's potential membership to NATO? I think it's going to look too like he's cutting and running, or, you know, exceeding defeat before it's absolutely necessary. And it seems like the mood in the country is such that people want to fight and they want their president to fight. And that might be at odds with kind of keeping casualties low, but I think the mood is that they want to stand up to the Russian conquerors.
You know, Colonel Davis, Russia, as you know, has amassed, nearly 200,000 troops, maybe 190,000 troops around Ukraine. Many of those troops are now in Ukraine. How much more brutal could this entire assault get?
Well, it could go a lot worse. Evidence indicates that this has been a phased approach, and that Russia did not just like roll all these 200,000 vehicles and tanks and other personnel in, but they're doing it in a phased approach to make penetrations, and then they'll bring other what's called pursuit forces to go through that, and that's when you could see some rapid roll-ups. But I do want to point out, officially from the Kremlin, they have said, after Zelensky made that comment earlier today, they officially said they are willing to talk about this, and they're actually talking with Israel too. But the other thing, and this is the hard reality. If it's evident that militarily you can't stop Russia, then it doesn't matter how brave a face you want to put on there. There's no point in putting civilians in harm's way if the end result is going to be the same. Whether you make a negotiation, whether you even say, hey, I'm going to surrender the capital so it doesn't get hit, or you say, no, we're going to fight to the end result is the same. The difference is how many people have to die before that. And I think the leader has a responsibility to take care of his people.
This is moving very, very rapidly indeed. Julia, U.S. officials, as you well know, suspect Putin's goal is first to topple Kyiv, the capital, put his own pro-Russian government in place, either arrest or kill Zelensky and maybe other cabinet members and their families. Ukrainians have become a lot more independent, more anti-Russian over the past 8 years, haven't they?
Yeah, and in part that's Putin's handiwork. The more he wanted to forcibly bring them into his embrace, the more he's driven them away and toward the West. And if Ukraine was a country that was much more divided before 2014, Putin certainly remedied that. And these days, I don't think Ukraine has ever been as unified. You have opposition politicians praising President Zelensky, even though they used to criticize him. There is a real rallying around the flag effect. And I just want to get back to the point about negotiations. I think if we've learned anything from the last couple months is that the Russians don't want to negotiate. Putin made that very clear in his speech in declaring the invasion, and it's something that a lot of his ministers and officials have echoed. The goal isn't NATO anymore, at least not the stated goal. I don't think it was ever about NATO and neutrality. He talked about denazifying Ukraine, which has a Jewish president and a Jewish prime minister. The goal is regime change. I don't know how you negotiate that, and I don't know how, civilian casualties or not. Of course, you want to save people's lives, but there is also a political aspect and a kind of, for lack of a better term, a spiritual aspect to this. The Ukrainians don't want to be defeated before they have to be. And that might be irrational and that might be emotional, but I think emotions are running so high right now, and it's hard to not understand that.
Yeah, Putin made it very clear in that speech that he gave. He doesn't even regard Ukraine as a country. He sees it obviously as part of Russia. Julia Ioffe, thank you very much. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thanks to you as well. We appreciate both of your expertise.